How's it going, you guys? It's your boy Hebrodius. I'm coming at you with a video on your audio mixer, your audio settings for OBS, and it's just really mainly for any streamers out there, whether you're a beginner or you're someone who, can't really process how to do certain things, or you're really new to a PC and you've just gotten off of a console and you want a PC stream and PC game all at the same time and you're super new to it. Without further ado, let's get into it. So the first things first, whenever you've downloaded OBS, you're going to have a lot of default things. You're going to go through this thing called the configuration wizard, right here, which is the auto configuration wizard, and it's going to basically set everything up. You want to set that up to the option where it says that you're going to be streaming and not recording, so that way it adjusts it for you and you get all that squared away. The most important part of this for your audio, if you're new to it, is you want to go to settings, and the first thing you want to go to is your output. Now, as you can see, I have mine set to advanced in the output mode. Yours by default will be under your output, and output mode will be simple, so you'll just click it and go to advance. The very first thing that you should do under Twitch VOD track is select the box, and it'll select number 2 for you by default. And then, of course, there's some other streamers who go through, or other content creators and YouTubers who go through all these settings and explain to you what each of your encoder settings are, but that's not what we're here to do today. But the next thing you want to do is go under your audio settings specifically, and under your global audio devices, all this basically is whatever you have default. It'll always be default when you download OBS. And then these other things will just either say default or disable, just whichever. I highly suggest taking your desktop 2 and all these other things that you're not going to use and just disable them, because they're not going to be used, so why bother? The only 2 things that you should be using is your desktop audio or mic auxiliary audio. Now, I do want to preface this by saying, if you're not using Voicemeeter, your Elgato Wavelink software, or the SteelSeries Sonos or Sonar program to split your audio, don't worry, because I'm going to explain to you how you can use OBS to do those same things by splitting apart different audio from different programs, whether that's Spotify or Discord or a browser or your game, whatever. We're going to explain all that in this video. So basically right here, as you can see, I use Voicemeeter, so I have all these options for Voicemeeter, which is a little hairy, and I know it's like a lot, but I understand what most of these mean. The one thing you're most likely going to use if you have a headset, you're going to be using your speakers. So under speakers, it'll just say whatever headset you're using, and for me, I'm using just my Voicemeeter program that I have, so mine would be Voicemeeter input. And then I use the NVIDIA Broadcast for my microphone, so I use the noise gate part inside of that. So I automatically just use the microphone and where it says NVIDIA Broadcast. That's what I use. But if I wanted to, I could use my headset microphone, or if I look and scroll down here, even though this isn't labeled properly, I can use HyperX Quadcast S, which is the microphone that I am currently using right now in this video. But right now I'm using microphone NVIDIA Broadcast. So after I'm done with all this, all you got to do is hit apply, OK, and you're done with that. Now, into the meat and potatoes of your sources. So OBS gives you some really cool features in here. You have your application audio capture, which basically is, like I was explaining, if you're not using Voicemeeter or any of those other programs where it separates all your audio for you in the program, you can use this, your audio input capture and your output capture. So the application audio capture, essentially what that does is, let's just say that you're playing Call of Duty or you're playing Apex Legends and you want to use Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube for any copyright free music, but sorry, let me backtrack. So let's just say you're using one of your music programs, right? Or you're using Discord and you want to incorporate your friends into your stream to where you can, the stream can hear them and whatever. You'll use the application audio capture to do just that. And so you can create new, and let's just say for the sake of the video, I just say Discord. So under here, this is the window you're going to have. The only one that you really will change under here is the window. You can use the window match priority, but I don't know a lot of people who use these options, so we're just going to leave it on the default. But you will go into your window, and as you can see, I do have a lot of windows open. I tab a lot of my friends who stream. But if I'm wanting to use Discord, I would use the Discord exe, because that's where you're going to be using Discord. That's what you want to select. You want to select whichever thing you have set here. So I'm going to hit OK. And then now naturally I have Discord ready to go. And you can do the same thing, whether if it's, like I said, Spotify or web browser or whatever. And whatever you want to separate audio with, that's how you're going to do it with that. And it's a really cool feature. It used to actually be a plugin, but like back in the day, and OBS decided to go and add it as a an audio source, which I think is really cool. And a lot of streamers and a lot of content creators use that. The next thing that you have here is called the audio input capture, and this is mainly for so like as you can see, like mic and aux. So that's really for that. If you have something like a separate microphone, or let's say you're a podcaster and you're using OBS to run a podcast, you can use this or that second option in the settings to add another audio source. So that's really what that's for. And then the other option you have here is audio output capture. What this initially does is kind of the same thing as you got to see right here for the application. It's kind of the same thing as here. So if I click desktop audio, it'll be desktop audio, but we're going to create a new one, and we're just going to leave it as audio output capture. So as you can see here, you select your device, and you can select from a vast variety of whatever output devices that you have that you want to use. So let's say, for example, you want to use, I don't know, like for me, I use my cable C, which does my channel point reward sounds. So if you have StreamerBot, you can use this, but if you don't use the other programs like Voicemeeter, it's not really going to make a difference. But just as an example, that's what that's for. Now, granted, as I explained earlier about the application audio capture, if you are using Spotify, like any music, browser, any music programs, anything like that, I do highly suggest that when you're going into your output thing here in the settings, you do select this box, and it's going to default as number 2 already, so you won't have to really worry about that. The meat and potatoes for that is going to be inside your audio mixer. So what you're going to do is hit the cogwheel to get to your advanced audio properties. And let's just use Discord for this example. Let's just say that said Spotify, and I wanted to uncheck this box. So that way, whenever I'm done streaming, and my stream VOD uploads to Twitch, well, guess what? You're not going to get muted. You're not going to get DMCA striked. And it's not going to be a big deal. It's not going to impact you. But the reason I say that is because guess what? You've already unchecked this box here. That box we saw in the settings is automatically going to be in here. Now, I would love to preface this by saying this does not protect you entirely with a DMCA strike. It doesn't entirely protect you, because if someone were to see you streaming and report you for playing copyright music, guess what? Then, they'll look at that and you'll get, a little bit in trouble for it, but people don't really do that. And so it's not like a huge deal. But if you wanted to protect yourself, that's the best thing to do, is to go under here and just uncheck this box. Because what's going to happen is when your VOD is done and it's on Twitch and you want to go back and watch it back, you're not going to hear the music that you just heard while you were streaming. It's not going to be playing in the video. So that's really a nice little feature that OBS made, and maybe a happy accident. I'm not entirely sure. But with that said, that is done for showing you how to use that and how to get into your advanced audio properties. The next thing I want to show you is inside of your audio mixer under these three dots. As a streamer and content creator myself, it's very important to know that when you're using OBS, especially when you're streaming, that these volume dials here that you see, you do not, and I mean you do not have to adjust these or touch these at all. The only time that you should ever touch this, I just muted myself, is by muting it. That's the only time that you should ever touch it, is by muting. That's it. But you do not have to adjust this volume dial whatsoever, because what that does inside here, when you're streaming, this is what your stream hears. All of this, even as you're listening to this video right now, everything that I'm saying is being picked up, as you can see with this little bar here. And as you notice, the bar is not going into the red zone. It's staying well within the yellow. So to fix that, what I highly suggest as a beginner streamer, as a beginner, person who's using OBS, I highly suggest you go to the three dots and you go to filters. Under filters, you'll have this thing called a limiter. This isn't going to be here by default, so we're going to use something that we haven't used. So we're going to use this Discord, for example. So under Discord, as you can see, there's nothing here because we haven't added anything. So how you add stuff is you hit the plus. Inside the plus, you have a lot of different things here to go by. Whether you want to add an expander for a noise gate or a noise gate itself or noise suppression, or however you want to use this. There are tons and tons of tutorials on how to use these and which one is good to use, whether you're using a USB mic or an XLR setup, or even if you're someone who does podcasts and you want to, work on some audio filters and add some, you can always do that. There is a really great video by Gaming Careers that I'm going to add down in the description as a base of reference for these, so that way you can kind of see like what settings that he suggests inside of his video. So I highly suggest, if you want to learn how to use some of these, go check out the video, and I will link it down at the bottom of the description. But what I use for my for Discord, my game, my music, I add what's called a limiter. And essentially what this does is, as you can see down here when I'm talking under my mic aux, is I'm limiting myself from going past a certain threshold. So if I lower that threshold down, so let's say for here, for example, it's set by default at 6. And say if I don't want myself to be super loud or clip the mic, I will lower the threshold. And granted, there's a lot of other settings, like I said. Make sure you watch that video for more information about that. But when you are streaming music or you are playing a game, the main important thing that you want to pay attention to is that you want to be louder. As someone who's talking into the mic, you as the streamer need to be the focal point. You need to be the person that is louder amongst your friends when you're playing games, your game itself, your music that you're playing, and so on and so forth, etc. So by doing that under Discord, for this example, I normally put my limiter down to around 20. So this makes it to where they're not peaking right here in the yellow mark. You can, of course, adjust this based off preference. What I do highly suggest that you're going to do, if you are going to mess with the limiter, is have a friend or a couple friends who have a different, different brains to have some opinions on, okay, this is a little too loud or this is a little too quiet, just to, run a test stream and have them go in there with you and, tell you what sounds good, what sounds, balanced, whatever. The main important thing for that to understand, that you have to understand, is if something is too loud for somebody, they have a volume dial. They can always turn you down. If you're too loud for them, they can turn down your stream. You do not have to come in here and turn anything down after you have it set. Again, you do not have to turn anything down until after you have everything that you have set and tested with a friend or whatever. If you're streaming and someone says, oh, your music's too loud, then yes, then at that point you come into here under your audio filters, under your limiter, and you turn down, say, your music or your Discord or whatever. That's the only time you really should be able to just adjust it. But once you have some buddies to help you with that and you can adjust it yourself, it's really not a big deal. But I do not suggest at all to ever touch this. Never, ever, 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 ever touch this. Because all that does is it turns it down for your stream. You can already do that as I'm showing you in the filters. This is more of a, I'm going to set it and forget it. So when you're working with a friend or you're working with, you know, say your brother or sister, whoever's watching your stream that's helping you with it, you want to be able to set this up, set it and forget it. Because once you have it set, you don't have to worry about it. It's just like microphone gain. Once you set your microphone gain exactly the way you want it, you really don't want to touch it after that. You just kind of want to leave it alone. So this is basically that. So once you have it set, just leave it alone, forget about it. You don't have to worry about it. But if the worst case scenario happens that someone says, oh, you know, your music's too loud, or oh, I can't really hear you over your friends or over the game, you just go and adjust it through the limiter. That's it. You know, because all this other stuff here is already set for you. You don't have to really mess with it. But after all of that, that's pretty much it. You know, that's as much as, you know, as much in-depth detail that I can get into. And of course, you know, you have your properties, you have your advanced audio properties, which is the stuff that I was kind of showing you. And then the vertical layout is kind of neat. So that way it's kind of like a better visualization of your audio stuff. So it really is just based off preference, in my opinion. And you can always right click on the box itself and redo it as horizontal, or just do the same thing as I was just showing you. But that is the end of the tutorial video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was super helpful. If you have any questions, leave a comment. I will try to answer as many comments as possible and try to help you as best as I can. And if anything, if I can't help you in the comments, always reach out to me in Discord at Hebrodius, and just write me a message letting me know, like, hey, I'm, you know, someone who just watched your video and I need a little bit of help, yada yada, you know, stuff like that. But if you do like the video and you do like the other content, make sure you like the video, which also helps with engagement. And leaving the comment, even if you don't have anything to say, leaving an emoji helps as well. And that just helps more with engagement. And if you like the other content that I have on here, I do have a lot of long form content for my streams, and I do have video clips of little things that I've done in certain video games. So if you like all the content you see, slap the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And I hope I see you guys in the next video. If you guys want any more tutorial videos like this, make sure to leave those suggestions down in the comments. And I will see you guys in the next one. But it's your boy Hebrodius. Y'all stay classy out there. Peace.